Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So I just hopped off the earnings call, Palantir Q2 earnings call, and I want to share my raw thoughts with you. So these are going to be the really raw thoughts, because there are some things and statements that I do need to look into more and digest. But here it is. So the raw recap of the video. So earnings were majorly in line with expectations. There was a slight beat on earnings, slight beat on revenue. However, the stock is up after hours, which is a very big surprise. I was watching Amit and Arnie and Adam on their live video, and they had the same opinion as me, that it's really weird, because we were all expecting that if Palantir doesn't knock it out of the stadium, not even the ballpark, then the stock is going to crash 20%, and they didn't. It was basically, they did a little bit more than what they were guiding for. Yet the stock price is going up. So what the heck happened? Maybe Wall Street is starting to get this stock. And I'm going to quickly go through what are the good points in this earnings. And unfortunately, there were some red flags in this earnings, and I want to show you what they were. So the good points: third quarter of GAAP profit, and we need one more to be included in the S&P 500. Alex Karp has been amazing this whole earnings call. He had a fantastic speech in the beginning, and I feel he has a very clear vision. He's very confident. As a CEO, you can tell that he really believes in the product, and he said something there that I want to listen to again. It sounds like he wants to be the most valuable software company on the planet, which is amazing. And one thing that I want to listen to again is he was saying that Palantir's products have the possibility of changing the US GDP. And that's a big fat statement to make. I mean, both of those are big fat statements: becoming the most valuable software company on the planet and changing the US GDP. So I like them both. Then Palantir is like a cluster F of when it's earnings, because they have this media release, and then they have the shareholder deck, and then they have a shareholder letter, and then they have the earnings call. So Karp came out with a new shareholder letter where he shared that AIP has already 100 customers using it, which is a lot of customers when it comes to Palantir, and the product was launched only 10 weeks ago. And here's the more important thing: there's already 300 customers that they are in talks with to start using AIP, and that is a very big effing number for Palantir. Okay, 300 new customers. That is crazy. So here's the next okay thing. And I'm going to keep this as a secret, because I'm going to use this slide again in the red flags. Let me know in the comments if you guess why. So the average revenue TTM per the top 20 customer grew 15%. So that's a very good sign, because this means that the biggest customers are finding more and more value with Palantir. I made a lot of videos about this, that the top 20 customers have a very hard time to expand with Palantir, because these are multi-year. I guess some of these partners have been decades of expanding, and you can see that the average top 20 customer spends 53 million with Palantir. And if you're an organization spending 53 million with Palantir, and you're still expanding your usage of Palantir, and you're not kicking them out and want to develop your own solution, that just really shows that you think that this product is effing valuable. So that is really good. Let me see if I skipped something. No. Then the next one is that the adjusted operating income is nicely uptrending. So this was a dip here that was because of the Ukraine war. I think they didn't really say what it was, but I think that they suddenly put a lot of software engineers working for free, basically for Ukraine, to get goodwill essentially with NATO. Here's another thing that I was really interested in, and that is the customer number growth. We can see that it's a 38% year over year. I'm very happy to see that number, and this is the customers that are already in the bag. Okay, and then on top of it, we know that they're in talks with 300 customers about using AIP. So I don't know how many of these they close, even if they close 1/3 of them. Because, you know, maybe you would think if you're calling the customers, it's legitimate to expect that you would close 10% of the customers. But we know from CARP that these customers are calling into them. So my experience that when customers are calling into you, so not you're reaching out to them, but they're reaching out to you, your closing percentage is much higher. So I don't think it's unreasonable to think that they might be able to close 30%, maybe 50% of those customers, and you could see that they would smoke the new customers because they went up to 421. So just this would increase their customers by 25% if they close 30%. I mean, 50% would be 150. That would be 33% growth. That's crazy good, okay? Then the next one, they ended the quarter with 3.1 billion in cash and I can't speak. So cash and cash, it's very late. Okay, you just have to read it. I can't say it for some reason. Then the cash from operation and adjusted cash flow, you can see in Q2 2022, it went from 62 million to 90 million. That's a 50% increase. And adjusted free cash flow went from 61 to 96, also more than a 50% increase. Really, really good. And then they gave a guidance for Q3, and I haven't typed in what is the percent, but I don't think it's a very high percent. And they raised just slightly their guidance for financial year 2023, as we suspected that they would. Again, this is a very small increase. Here, it's still below 20% increase. I hope that this number is being sent back, but nevertheless, they increased the guidance. So the red flags or things that I didn't like about this earnings. So in the shareholder letter, CARP wrote, our board of directors has approved a common stock repurchase program, the first in our history as a public company. The program is authorized to repurchase up to 1 billion of the company's Class A common stock. The scale of the opportunity that lies ahead has increased significantly in recent months, and we intend to capture it. So this can either mean two things, because if you do a share buyback with the share price very high, that's a very stupid thing. And the Palantir share price is very high at the moment. Why weren't they also had the $1 billion on the balance sheet when we were at $6. They could have done the share buybacks when it was at $6. Why do it now when the stock is around $20? So this is my, initial thought about it. I'm really not happy with this. And again, this is just an authorization. It doesn't mean that they're doing it. And I suspect that this also has to do with why the stock is not falling, because this also sets like a floor to the stock, because you know that if the price goes, low enough, then management is going to step in and start buying $1 billion worth of shares. But again, they don't have to do it. Or the second way that you can read this news is that management understands that the company value is rapidly going to go up, and even these $20 is very, very undervalued, and they want to capture this value before the stock price goes up. I don't know whichever way you want to read it. Again, spontaneously, my first reaction is I'm not happy about this, and it should have been done when the stock price was much, much lower. So here's the second red flag. Again, this is this chart that I reused, and that is that the top 20 customers were growing faster than the total company. And we want Palantir to reach out and be a less concentrated business on the top 20 customers. There is all these charts that is showing how Palantir's top 20 customers used to be like 70-80% of the revenue, and it constituted this customer concentration risk. And I was very happy to see that number go down, because that means Palantir is becoming more and more mainstream. Palantir is getting more and more customers. So in this quarter it flipped, and the top 20 customers is growing in significance, and the total revenue is growing less. And then the second red flag, there's two red flags in this picture, is you can see down here the Q2 net dollar retention is 110%, 15%. And this is an additional, super red flag, because the average top 20 customers were growing 15%. So that means that all the other customers were only going 105%. Now, I would really want that explained, why that happened. It didn't come up on the conference call. Nobody asked it. I don't know why. My guess is, I know that they had some SPAC bankruptcies, meaning that they lost customers there. And then I'm wondering if they are counting in, pilots that was very low paid, but the customers ended up quitting the product, which is not a big deal. But yeah, this number is very, very suspicious. Again, it's a red flag, and I definitely want to dig more into that number. So now here's the next red flag. So you can see that commercial revenue growth was 20%, which is nothing to brag about. US government revenue growth was 10%, which again is nothing to brag about. But this is not the problem. So we want Palantir to not be as reliant on the top 20 customers, and we want Palantir to become a commercial company, so to move away from the government and really expand in the commercial space, because that's where the money and the valuation is at, okay? So if you look at the total government revenue and the total commercial revenue, they flipped again. It's like going backwards. So the total government revenue was 15% up, whereas the total commercial revenue was only 10% up. So again, this is going the wrong way. I guess that it's because the top 20 customers are government customers and they increased 15%. So this number increased 15%. That's my own. And it seems like their international commercial growth is really for shit currently. It's barely expanding. I believe that they mentioned this on the earnings call as well, that it's a trouble zone for them, but they still see an opportunity in selected areas. But again, this is not what you want to see. So what happened with the stock after hours? It gets a total pass from Wall Street. The stock is up at 2.83%. I have no clue why, but this is exactly why you don't want to time the market. I'm very happy that my cost basis on Palantir is below $9. I'm very nicely up. As I said, I'm not selling, but based on this data, again, this is my initial reactions. I will not be adding to Palantir, because I do think that based on the numbers that they showed, I think that there is better opportunities out on the market. But everybody needs to do their own valuation. Palantir would have to fall for me to start adding, and slightly important detail, I would need to have more money to be able to buy. Currently, don't have more money to buy. I'm all into Palantir. So, final thoughts. The quarter was largely as management guided, nothing really striking as good or bad. It was a quarter, some red flags, but overall Palantir seems to be very well on track on their plans. So, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on X, Vince is Bullish, at Vince is Bullish. That's my ticker symbol. And I'll see you tomorrow when I've slept on this. It's very late here in Sweden when I'm recording. And I will give a more detailed version of what I think. So thank you for watching. See you again. Ciao, ciao.